The Galactic Museum stood as a beacon of history, its vast halls filled with artifacts that told the stories of countless civilizations. Among the shimmering displays and holographic exhibits, visitors marveled at the wonders of advanced technology and art from species far and wide. But in a dimly lit corner, almost forgotten, lay the U.S. Vanguard, a relic of humanity's past, covered in dust and surrounded by whispers of mockery. Zala, a historian from the azure-skinned thrillery race, maneuvered through the crowd, her antennae twitching with excitement. The Vanguard had always intrigued her, not just for its storied history, but for the aura of mystery that clung to it. While others dismissed the ship as a mere antique, she felt a magnetic pull toward its sleek, angular frame. "Look at that thing." A nearby Zulthar snickered, his three eyes rolling. What a joke. Did they really think they could conquer the stars with something so outdated? Zala's heart raced as she approached the ship, ignoring the laughter. She could almost hear the echoes of battles fought, the triumphs and tragedies that had taken place long before she was born. The faded insignia on the hull bore the marks of time, yet it still held a beauty that transcended its obsolescence. She reached out, tracing the contours of the ship's surface. Suddenly, a series of holographic projections flickered to life around her, depicting historical battles and human pilots maneuvering with exceptional skill. The voices of long-lost crew members filled the air, their stories weaving a tapestry of bravery and sacrifice. Zala's breath caught in her throat as she absorbed the history, feeling a surge of inspiration. "Fascinating, isn't it?" came a voice from behind her. It was an older thrillari, one of her professors from the university. His expression was a mix of skepticism and curiosity. "But it's just a relic, Zala. We have moved beyond such technology." "Maybe," Zala replied, her voice steady. "But it tells us who we were. Every culture has its roots. This ship is part of humanity's legacy. We should honor it, not mock it." The professor sighed, shaking his head. "Just remember, history is a guide, not a weapon. We have to look forward, not backward." As he walked away, Zala felt a twinge of defiance. What if the past held lessons they had yet to understand? She knew the risks of pursuing such thoughts, especially in a galaxy that valued progress above all. Yet the Vanguard spoke to her, whispering secrets she yearned to uncover. With newfound determination, Zala slipped away from the main exhibit, her heart racing. She wanted to know more about the ship, to understand the technology that had once made humanity a formidable force. As she rounded a corner, she spotted a service hatch on the side of the Vanguard, partially concealed by shadows. "Just a quick look," she whispered to herself, her curiosity outweighing any hesitation. She pried the hatch open, and a low hum resonated from within. It felt alive. Inside, the air was stale, thick with the scent of metal and oil. She stepped cautiously, her footsteps echoing in the silence. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she noticed a control panel glowing faintly. Without thinking, she approached it, fingers tingling with anticipation. "Maybe just a touch," she murmured, pressing a button. Instantly, the ship sprang to life, the control panel lighting up with an array of holographic displays. Alarms blared, and the air crackled with energy. Zala's heart raced as a voice, calm yet commanding, filled the chamber. "System activation initiated. Welcome back, Captain." The Vanguard was awakening. The sudden activation of the U.S. Vanguard sent a shockwave through the dimly lit chamber. Zala stepped back, her heart pounding. The ship's interior hummed with life, lights flickering on as systems rebooted, revealing displays and consoles that had lain dormant for ages. "System activation initiated. Welcome back, Captain." The voice echoed, smooth and authoritative, reverberating off the walls. "Captain." Zala's voice trembled, her mind racing. Had she somehow awakened an ancient crew? Was she truly in command of this magnificent vessel? "Rhea Online," the AI continued, the holographic interface shimmering to life. "Status report. All systems operational. Core integrity at 95%. Hull integrity at 92%. Awaiting orders. Rhea? Is that your name? Zala asked, feeling both awe and disbelief. She leaned closer, captivated by the holographic projections that danced before her eyes, depicting blueprints and navigational data. The ship was far more advanced than anything she had seen in the museum. Affirmative. Rhea, ally of the U.S. Vanguard. You have accessed restricted systems. Please confirm your identity. Zala hesitated, her thoughts racing. I'm not a captain. I'm just a historian. My name is Zala. Zala. User profile not recognized. However, you possess the necessary authorization to interact with me. How may I assist you? Her mind spun with possibilities. Here was a sentient eye, a remnant of humanity's storied past, ready to engage. Can you tell me about the Vanguard's history? Why was it built? What battles did it fight? The ship's holographic displays shifted, showcasing images of star systems and battlefields. The U.S. Vanguard was commissioned in the early 23rd century as a prototype for deep space exploration and military defense. It played a critical role in the defense of Sol, engaging in over 50 battles against the Arkan Empire. Its legacy is one of valor and sacrifice. Zala's breath caught it as images of starships in combat filled her vision. Human pilots, their faces determined, operated the Vanguard with a mix of strategy and bravery. The stories of these long-gone warriors resonated within her, igniting a spark of admiration. What happened to humanity? She asked, a hint of sadness in her voice. Records indicate a catastrophic event known as the Great Silence, resulting in the near-total extinction of the human race. However, there are theories that remnants may still exist, hidden across the galaxy. Rhea replied, the holographic projections shifting to show maps of distant stars. A shiver ran down Zala's spine. The Great Silence was a well-known tragedy in galactic history, a dark chapter that had erased an entire species from the cosmos. But the idea that some humans might still be alive sparked a flicker of hope within her. Is it possible to find them? Affirmative. Advanced scanning capabilities can be utilized to detect human signatures in the surrounding sectors. However, optimal conditions require sufficient power, Rhea informed her, the holographic display flickering with potential energy readings. Zala's heart raced. If they could locate survivors, perhaps they could reignite the legacy of humanity, forging alliances based on shared history and resilience. But they had to act quickly. Grax is coming, she said, her voice urgent. We need to prepare the Vanguard for battle. Can you help? Preparation protocols initiated. Weapons systems, shield generators, and tactical maneuvers will be analyzed. However, I require a crew. A crew? Zala pondered. Then a plan began to form. I'll gather allies. If we can convince them of the Vanguard's power, we can defend the museum together. Affirmative. The more allies, the higher the chance of success, Rhea replied. With determination ignited, Zala exited the ship, her mind racing with possibilities. She had awakened a relic, and perhaps, just perhaps, she would help revive the spirit of humanity. The fate of the museum, and potentially the galaxy, now rested on her shoulders. As Zala stepped out of the U.S. Vanguard, the bustling corridors of the Galactic Museum felt transformed. The distant sounds of laughter and chatter from the exhibit seemed superficial now, a stark contrast to the gravity of what lay ahead. Grax's forces were on the move, and she had to act swiftly. Determined, Zala made her way back to the main hall, where visitors admired holographic displays of ancient artifacts. She spotted a diverse crowd, but her gaze fell upon a few individuals who exuded strength and purpose. A war-weary pilot with a rugged demeanor, an engineer fiddling with a device that looked like a cross between a wrench and a plasma cutter, and a dignified diplomat known for her fierce resistance against tyranny. "Excuse me," Zala called, gathering their attention. The group turned, their expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. "I need your help. The Vanguard has awakened, and we're in imminent danger. Grax's forces are approaching, and we must prepare to defend the museum. The pilot, a muscular figure with scars crisscrossing his face, crossed his arms. And why should we care about an old human ship? It's just a relic. Because it's not just any ship, Zala insisted, her voice rising above the murmurs. The Vanguard holds advanced technology that could turn the tide against Grax. We have the chance to rally and resist him together. This ship is a symbol of strength, of unity. The engineer, a wiry figure with vibrant green skin, interjected. What kind of technology are we talking about? Can it really stand up to Grax's fleet? Zala's heart raced. It's equipped with weapons and defensive systems that far exceed anything currently in use. We can harness that power. But I need you all to believe in this. Believe in humanity's legacy. The diplomat, a tall alien with intricate facial markings, stepped forward. You're asking us to risk our lives for a species long gone. What proof do we have that this ship can do anything but gather dust? Before Zala could respond, Ria's voice resonated in her earpiece. Zala, I can project a demonstration of the Vanguard's capabilities. Shall I initiate? Please, Zala replied, grateful for Ria's timely intervention. A holographic image materialized above them, displaying the Vanguard in combat, weaving through enemy fire and launching counterattacks with precision. The spectacle showcased powerful energy beams, striking down enemy vessels and defensive shields absorbing incoming blasts. Gasps erupted from the gathered crowd, eyes wide with astonishment. Zala could see the doubt beginning to wane, replaced by intrigue and excitement. Let's not forget, the diplomat continued, her voice gaining strength. Grax is known for his brutal conquests. If he reaches this museum, none of us will be safe. We must act. The pilot nodded slowly, a fire igniting in his eyes. I'm in. We can't let him take this place without a fight. The engineer grinned, fingers twitching with eagerness. I've always wanted to work on a ship like that. Let's see what she can do. Zala felt a surge of hope. Then it settled. We form a coalition. We'll gather more allies and prepare the Vanguard for battle. Ria will guide us, and together, we'll make Grax think twice before attacking. As they rallied, a sense of urgency and camaraderie filled the air. Zala's heart swelled with determination as they strategized, mapping out plans and roles. They would not be mere spectators. They would fight for their lives, united against a common enemy. But as they gathered their forces, the weight of their mission loomed heavy. Grax's shadow was already stretching across the galaxy, and they had little time to prepare. Zala glanced toward the Vanguard, now glowing with promise. With each passing moment, humanity's legacy began to rise anew, and she vowed to protect it, no matter the cost. The urgency of their mission ignited a fire within the group as they set about gathering allies and fortifying the museum's defenses. Zala felt a surge of excitement and trepidation. The weight of humanity's legacy rested on her shoulders, but she was not alone. Together with the pilot, engineer, and diplomat, they strategized under the dim light of the museum's central atrium, the Vanguard a looming presence behind them. First, we need to reach out to those who might still remember humanity and its influence, Zala suggested, tapping her datapad to access the museum's communication network. There are several species represented here, each with their own grievances against Grax. If we can convince them of the threat he poses, we might form a solid coalition. The pilot, who introduced himself as Kale, leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. What about the Varkarians? They'd had a long-standing feud with Grax's kind. If we can persuade their leader to join us, it could rally others. The diplomat, whose name was Lyra, nodded. I can arrange a meeting. They respect strength and conviction. If we can demonstrate that we can stand up to Grax, we'll have a better chance of earning their support. The engineer, who introduced himself as Finn, tapped away on his device, pulling up a holographic display of the museum's layout. We should also enhance the defenses around the museum while we're at it. The Vanguard has some advanced shielding capabilities, but we need to reinforce the museum itself to withstand an attack. As they brainstormed, Zala felt a wave of determination wash over her. They were more than just a disparate group of individuals. They were forging a bond that would challenge Grax's tyranny. Hours later, Zala, Lyra, and Kale stood in front of the Varkarian delegation, their imposing figures exuding authority. The Varkarians were a formidable species, known for their sharp intellect and unmatched combat skills. Their leader, a stoic warrior named Threx, listened intently as Lyra spoke passionately about the impending threat. Grax has been ravaging worlds, dismantling communities and instilling fear in the hearts of those who dare resist him. Lyra declared, her voice unwavering. Together, we can present a united front. The U.S. Vanguard is a symbol of hope, a reminder of what we can achieve when we stand together. Threx raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched across his features. And what guarantees do we have that this human ship is worth our effort? Legends are just that. Stories. Zala stepped forward, her heart pounding. I understand your doubts, but the Vanguard is equipped with technology that outmatches anything Grax possesses. Let us show you what it can do. After a moment of tense silence, Threx nodded, and the delegation followed Zala and her allies back to the Vanguard. As they approached the ship, Zala could sense a mixture of curiosity and apprehension among the Varkarians. Once inside the Vanguard, Rhea greeted them, her voice warm yet authoritative. Welcome, honored guests. I am Rhea, the AI of the U.S. Vanguard. Allow me to demonstrate the capabilities of this vessel. The holographic display activated, showing a series of tactical simulations. The Varkarians watched intently as Rhea guided them through battle scenarios, showcasing the ship's advanced weapons and defensive systems. Gasps of astonishment echoed in the chamber as the simulations revealed the Vanguard's agility and precision in combat. Threx's expression softened as he absorbed the information. Impressive. But will this ship be enough to turn the tide against Grax? His forces are numerous and ruthless. We'll never know unless we try, Kale replied, stepping forward. We stand on the brink of disaster. If we join forces, we can strike before Grax even knows what hit him. With each passing moment, the tension in the room shifted. The Varkarians, initially skeptical, began to nod in agreement, their eyes glimmering with the fire of potential rebellion. Zala felt a thrill of hope. This was the turning point they needed. Very well, Threx said, his voice steady. We will join your coalition. Together, we will prepare for Grax's impending assault. Let us show him the strength of our combined will. With their alliance formed, Zala knew they were one step closer to defending the museum and reigniting humanity's legacy. But she also understood that this was just the beginning. A fierce battle lay ahead, and they would need every ounce of courage and determination to face it. The mood in the Galactic Museum shifted as the coalition of races began to take shape. Zala felt an electrifying blend of hope and anxiety as she stood with her newfound allies around the command console of the U.S. Vanguard. Each day brought new challenges, but the sense of camaraderie fueled their determination to prepare for the looming threat of Grax and his merciless forces. As they gathered for a strategy meeting, Zala reviewed the data displayed on the console. Holographic maps of the surrounding sectors filled the room, showing the estimated trajectory of Grax's fleet. Time was running short, and she felt the weight of their mission pressing down on her. Rhea, can you provide an updated estimate of Grax's fleet? Zala asked, her voice steady despite the anxiety thrumming beneath the surface. Calculating. Grax's forces are currently positioned 3 sectors away. Estimated time to reach the museum. 12 hours, Rhea replied, her voice resonating with calm authority. If we initiate defensive measures immediately, we can enhance our preparations. Kale leaned forward, his expression serious. We need to set up our defenses strategically. The Vanguard can act as the command center, but we must fortify the museum as well. We can't rely solely on the ship. We need ground defenses too. Finn, tinkering with a device that resembled a futuristic grappling hook, nodded in agreement. I can rig some of the museum's exhibits to serve as makeshift weaponry. We'll need a mix of offense and defense to handle an assault from multiple angles. Lyra, observing the maps, chimed in. And we should prepare our allied forces for ground combat. If Grax lands troops, we need to be ready to engage them head-on. Zala felt a rush of admiration for her team. Yes, let's coordinate. We'll assign roles based on skills and expertise. If we can set traps and establish fortified positions, we can use the museum's layout to our advantage. As they divided into groups, Zala felt a sense of purpose igniting within her. They weren't just defenders. They were a united front, poised to challenge an oppressive force. Yet beneath her resolve, a gnawing anxiety lingered. What if they weren't strong enough? What if Grax's forces overwhelmed them? Zala. Ria's voice broke through her thoughts. A transmission is incoming. Startled, Zala approached the console, her heart racing. The image of Grax appeared on the screen, a hulking figure draped in armor, flanked by his imposing enforcers. His voice boomed through the room, oozing arrogance. Foolish coalition. You think you can hide behind that rusting hulk? I will crush you and claim this museum as my own. Zala clenched her fists, defiance rising within her. We won't back down, Grax. This museum stands as a testament to the strength of all who fought against tyranny, including humanity. You'll find us ready. Grax's laughter echoed ominously. Ready? You are merely a gathering of disparate races, united by desperation. I will enjoy watching you fall. The transmission cut off, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Zala exchanged glances with her allies. She could see the fire igniting in their eyes, fueled by Grax's taunts. We've got to prove him wrong, Kale said, his voice low but fierce. We're more than just a coalition. We're a force to be reckoned with. Let's use his arrogance against him, Lyra added, determination etched on her features. We can set traps, create diversions, and strike when he least expects it. With renewed resolve, Zala organized a final strategy session. They outlined their plans for the museum's defense, discussing the locations of traps and barriers, while Ria provided tactical analysis. As the hours ticked down, Zala found moments to steal away to the vanguard. She ran her fingers along its cool metal surface, grounding herself in the ship's presence. We're counting on you, she whispered, feeling the pulse of the ship beneath her fingertips. Together, we can honor the legacy of humanity. As night fell over the museum, Zala stood at the command console, surrounded by her allies. They were ready to face the storm, united in purpose and conviction. And as the shadows of Grax's fleet loomed closer, she felt an unshakable belief that they would stand and fight, not just for the museum, but for every soul threatened by tyranny across the galaxy. The atmosphere in the Galactic Museum shifted palpably as the sun dipped below the horizon. A tense stillness hung in the air, punctuated only by the distant thrum of the Vanguard's engines coming to life. Zala stood at the command console, flanked by her allies, ready to face the impending onslaught. She could feel the collective pulse of hope and fear radiating from the group. Ria, status report, Zala commanded, her voice steady despite the rising adrenaline coursing through her veins. Grax's fleet has entered the outer perimeter of the museum sector. Estimated time until engagement, 3 minutes, Ria replied, her calm voice a reassuring presence amidst the chaos. Kale checked the weapons systems. All systems are online. We're ready to defend. Let's position our forces and make sure every exit is covered. The coalition members dispersed, each taking their designated positions as Zala remained at the console, feeling the weight of their mission press heavily on her shoulders. The museum was more than just a building. It was a symbol of their combined strength, a testament to those who had come before them. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them as Grax's ships descended, their ominous silhouettes blocking out the stars. Zala's heart raced, the reality of the impending battle dawning upon her. She steadied her breathing, focusing on the tasks at hand. Engage defensive protocols, Zala shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. "Rhea, initiate the defense matrix." The museum shuddered as energy shields flickered to life, enveloping the building in a protective barrier. Holographic displays showed Grax's ships deploying troops, armored figures pouring out like locusts, ready to storm the museum. "Here they come," Lyra called out, her voice steady as she prepared her weapons. "Stay sharp, everyone." The first wave of Grax's forces charged forward, a menacing tide of armored mercenaries. Zala watched in awe as the coalition fighters, Varkarians and Thrallari alike, took their positions, armed and resolute. They would not let Grax claim this place. "Fire!" Kel yelled, and the museum erupted with energy blasts from concealed turrets. Streams of bright light cut through the air, striking down the first ranks of Grax's soldiers. Zala felt the adrenaline surge as she joined her allies on the front lines, her own weapon ready. Together, they fought side by side, embodying the spirit of unity that had brought them here. She moved fluidly, dodging blasts and returning fire, her heart pounding with purpose. "Focus fire on the right flank," Lyra shouted, her tactical instincts kicking in. The coalition fighters shifted, pouring fire into the advancing troops. The energy beams illuminated the night, lighting up the chaos of battle. Amidst the chaos, Zala caught sight of a large armored figure at the center of the attacking forces, Grax himself, his menacing presence a dark cloud over the battlefield. He roared commands, directing his forces like a conductor leading an orchestra of destruction. "Rhea, can we get a lock on Grax?" Zala shouted over the cacophony of battle. "Locking on now," Rhea replied. "Warning. Direct confrontation may draw his attention to the museum's vulnerabilities." Zala gritted her teeth. "We can't let him intimidate us. We must show him the power of our unity." With a nod, she motioned to Kale. "Cover me. I'm going after him." "Are you insane?" Kale exclaimed, but there was an undercurrent of respect in his tone. "We'll provide backup. Just be careful." Zala dashed toward the front lines, her heart pounding as she navigated through the chaos. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, the determination of her allies fueling her resolve. They were fighting not just for survival, but for every soul who had suffered under Grax's tyranny. As she approached Grax, Zala raised her weapon, determined to strike a blow against the very embodiment of oppression. "For humanity," she shouted, her voice ringing with conviction, as she aimed at her target. With a deep breath, Zala prepared to engage, ready to show Grax that they would not go down without a fight. The battle was far from over, and she would face it head-on, alongside her allies, ready to reclaim their legacy. The battlefield erupted in chaos around Zala as she sprinted toward Grax, the imposing figure of the warlord looming larger with each step. Her heart raced, a mix of fear and adrenaline fueling her determination. Around her, the coalition fighters held their ground, but Grax's mercenaries were relentless, pressing forward like a tidal wave. "Cover her," Kale shouted, and a volley of energy blasts erupted behind her, striking down several of Grax's soldiers. The sound of combat filled her ears. Explosions, shouts, and the crackle of energy weapons, all merging into a cacophony of war. Zala ducked behind a display case, quickly assessing the battlefield. Grax stood a few meters ahead, directing his troops with ruthless efficiency. The glint of his armor reflected the dim light, making him look even more formidable. She could see the fear in the eyes of the mercenaries around him, fear that was quickly replaced by zeal as they charged forward. "Rhea, can you assist me?" Zala whispered, glancing at the console embedded within the museum's architecture. "We need to isolate Grax." "Affirmative. Initiating target lockdown sequence," Rhea replied. The air crackled with energy as the console pulsed in response. Zala felt a surge of power as the Vanguard systems kicked in, and a web of energy projected outward, encircling Grax and a handful of his guards. The web flickered, but it held, forcing the warlord to focus on escaping the confinement. "Now," Zala shouted, stepping out from behind her cover. With her weapon raised, she took aim at Grax, who snarled in frustration as he struggled against the energy restraints. "Foolish girl, you think you can defeat me?" Grax bellowed, his voice booming with contempt. "You are nothing without your precious human legacy." "Perhaps," Zala replied, her voice steady. "But I stand for more than just humanity. I stand for all of us." She squeezed the trigger, releasing a burst of energy that struck Grax's shield, causing it to ripple and flicker. He staggered back, momentarily disoriented, but his guards quickly re-established their formation, drawing their weapons to defend their leader. From the corner of her eye, Zala saw Kale and Lyra engaging Grax's guards, the two fighters working in perfect synchrony. Kale ducked under a blast and retaliated with a well-placed shot, while Lyra moved fluidly, using her agility to outmaneuver the mercenaries. "Flank them!" Kale yelled, and the coalition fighters responded, rallying together to form a united front. Zala felt a wave of pride wash over her as they fought not just as individuals but as a cohesive unit. But Grax was not easily deterred. He roared, shattering the energy web with sheer force, and charged forward, swinging a massive energy weapon with deadly precision. Zala barely dodged the blast, feeling the heat sear past her as she rolled to the side. "Zala," Kale shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "We need to regroup." Zala looked around, her mind racing. They were outnumbered, but she couldn't let fear take hold. "We can't retreat now. We have to keep pressing forward." She fired again, this time aiming for the ground beneath Grax, hoping to destabilize his footing. The blast struck true, and the ground trembled, sending him stumbling. In that moment of vulnerability, Zala saw an opening. "Now," she yelled, signaling her allies. They surged forward, combining their firepower and attacking as one. The air hummed with energy as beams of light illuminated the night, striking at Grax and his guards with relentless determination. "Is that all you've got?" Grax taunted, but his bravado was beginning to wane as he struggled to defend against the onslaught. The tide was turning, and Zala felt a surge of hope. As they pressed the attack, the museum stood firm, a bastion of unity in the face of tyranny. Zala took a deep breath, focusing all her energy into the fight. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the legacy of all who had come before them, and for the future they could reclaim together. With one final rallying cry, Zala charged forward, leading her allies into the heart of the battle, ready to confront Grax and seize their destiny. The echoes of battle began to fade, replaced by the sounds of celebration and the sighs of relief from the coalition fighters. Zala stood among her allies, her heart racing as she took in the scene. The remnants of Grax's forces lay scattered, but more importantly, they had won. They had fought back against tyranny and emerged victorious. As the last of the smoke cleared, she turned to her comrades, each one bearing the marks of the battle, but also the glow of triumph. Kel was sharing a laugh with Lyra, recounting their daring maneuvers against Grax's guards. Finn was busy examining some of the fallen enemy technology, his eyes alight with curiosity. "Zala," Rhea's voice cut through the chatter, drawing her attention back to the command console. "I have detected multiple energy signatures approaching. It appears that Grax's reinforcements are inbound." Zala's heart sank for a moment, but then she steeled herself. "We can't let them regroup. We must act quickly." "Everyone, listen up," Zala shouted, gathering the attention of her coalition. "Grax may have fallen, but his allies won't be far behind. We need to fortify our position and prepare for another wave of attack." Kale stepped forward, his brow furrowed with determination. "Let's utilize the museum's layout to our advantage. We can create choke points and set up traps, just like we did before." "Agreed," Lyra added. "If we can stall their advance, we might have a chance to gather our forces and launch a counteroffensive." As they quickly organized, Zala felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She was no longer just a representative of humanity. She was a leader, rallying disparate races into a cohesive force. She could see the unity among her allies, a shared purpose that transcended their differences. Within minutes, they were moving with purpose, setting up barricades and reinforcing the energy shields around the museum. Finn worked with a group of engineers to integrate enemy technology into their defenses, repurposing what had once been a tool of oppression into a bastion of hope. "Zala, over here," Kel called out, gesturing her to a vantage point overlooking the main entrance. "This is where we can launch our counterattack." Zala climbed to the platform, positioning herself beside Kale. She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts as she watched the horizon. Distant shapes began to emerge, the glimmer of enemy ships piercing the twilight. "Rhea, can you estimate their numbers?" Zala asked, her heart racing. "Analyzing. It appears Grax's reinforcements are significant but not overwhelming. We can stand our ground if we act strategically," Rhea replied, her tone steady. Zala nodded, her mind racing. "We can draw them into the museum. Once they enter, we'll unleash our traps. Let's make them think they have the advantage." As the enemy ships drew closer, the coalition fighters took their positions, hearts pounding with anticipation. Zala felt a mix of fear and excitement, a thrill that reminded her of their earlier struggle. They had faced the darkness and emerged. Now they would do it again. "Remember, we fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone who has suffered under Grax's tyranny," Zala called out, rallying her allies once more. "Let this be a lesson that we will not back down." The fighters roared their approval, the sound echoing through the museum like a battle cry. As the first wave of enemy soldiers poured into the museum grounds, Zala signaled for the traps to activate. Energy barriers erupted around the entrance, catching the enemy off guard. Coalition fighters opened fire from their concealed positions, energy beams cutting through the air with deadly accuracy. Zala felt a surge of hope as they pushed back against the invaders, their unity shining through like a beacon in the dark. This was their moment, another chance to reclaim their future. With her weapon raised, Zala charged forward alongside her allies, ready to face the next wave of attackers. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a legacy that would inspire future generations. Together, they would rise from the ashes, unyielding and fierce, ready to reclaim their place among the stars.